Go ahead and have you tell us who's missing and any time constraints you may have. Did you bring it on?
So we have a couple people missing tonight. Sarah Cox is not able to be here, and as I go down the list, and Stacia Winfrey is not able to be here as well. I don't think we have any other time constraints. We do have, I think, a couple people who were not with us last time around. So do we want to have them just kind of go through the ritual there? And although everybody knows Jared McKinney, but there may be one or two people out there in the land that may be not that familiar with you.
Well, for those who are not familiar with me, my name is Jared McKinney. I am the Executive Director of Transportation. Anything else you need to know? It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Sorry I missed last week.
Hi, I'm Chris Kolnicki. I'm a Zone Security Manager for Safety and Security.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gia Temple. I'm the Vice President of the SPALC Transportation. I'm a school bus driver, bus operator.
I think that's everybody, right?
Is everybody else? Yeah.
All right.
Here. Okay, we have our commitments. I put them in a little table, their commitments and our shared interests. If we can agree with these, just give me a thumbs up. All right, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and look at our minutes from last week. So any changes, corrections that need to be made in the minutes from last week? Were the commitments being listed in there? Lots and lots of agreements. Anything you want us to change? Correct. You ready to see if we go on minutes? Any more time, Laura? No, we're good, okay. All right, so if we approve the minutes, give me a thumbs up. Minutes are approved, thank you very much. All right. So for tonight, I think we have our issues that we listed in here. It is a collapsible menu, so if you're trying to scroll, it's too much, you can collapse that by just hitting the chevron next to it. We did have a data request in our last one for some square footage and the number of custodians, including head custodians in each school, and I believe we sent that to Lois and Marlies on Friday. Do you guys have any questions about that so far?
Not right now. I know
Okay.
Lois did make a change on it before she sent it back to you guys. But no, not right now. Thank you.
Okay. She just had it next to me for the custodians. Oh, I sent her some data. It was a joint communication, I think you're talking about, okay. All right, so we sent you some data on Friday, you probably haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet, but we gave you the square footage and the number of custodians, custodians in every school. Okay? All right, so for tonight, we're just gonna go over some managerial guidelines and safe driver time, I understand? Okay, Ron, do you want to start us off?
Sure, yeah, I think this was kind of a mutual interest as well that was discussed in labor management, is that, we do have, primarily for our transportation folks, So we have an established committee that meets, I wouldn't say on a yearly basis, but on a regular basis, whenever necessary, to review the guidelines that have been in place for quite some time. And so there are managerial guidelines for discipline, and then also included in that is, well, it's a separate document, but it's the safe driver plan. And so it is never, there's, in both of the documents, there's a reference to the collective bargaining agreement, but it's really not stated anywhere in the collective bargaining agreement as makes any reference. So tonight we thought, at some point we need to, whether we include both the managerial guidelines and the safe driver plan in the appendix, and then somewhere within the contract, there's some reference to that included in the collective bargaining agreement. Because like I said, both documents. And Arlise or Jared, maybe for the people who don't know a little bit more about how the managerial guidelines were established and the regular routine that kind of goes along with that, and then how that safe driver plan fits in that. I'll let, maybe between Arlise and Jared, they can kind of address that.
Looks like she's going to allow you to.
Picking up my issue.
By all means, have the floor, So the managerial guidelines were established. They're pretty much like our rules of how to conduct yourselves. If something was to happen, these are the consequences and penalties to those actions. And just talking to Ron briefly earlier, we were discussing how these are recommendations, so not necessarily what the actions are going to be. They are recommendations based on what the district policies and procedures are from our conversation earlier. And going into the safe driver plan, so what our drivers have, every year they get awarded safe driver pay for doing a job well done and not having being accident free. And not only accidents, but tickets and things of that nature. And now we have bus patrol in place too, so those of you know that. So there are also the consequences for that. And then we have a point system. So if a driver gets so many points, they fall out of our safe driver plan and they're no longer qualified to operate the school bus. So it's just our point system and our conduct, pretty much our code of conduct for the transportation department.
Thank you for the explanation.
Agree that we have to come together, and I was involved in that. I think the last time these were updated was last May.
Yes, so what we do is we open it up in labor management, and it's HR, transportation, and SPALC. We sit down and we comb through and see exactly what our recommendations are based on discipline for whatever the misconduct might be. Last May, we did sit down and go over this. I don't think it had been touched for years before that. So we sat down and really went back through it again to make sure that we were within district policy along with the managerial guidelines, that they went, make sure they coincide with one another. So we do open up the labor management, and whenever we want to make recommendations or if there's something that comes up, we do it in labor management. Okay. Anything else?
Arlise?
You need to amend or add, or he did a great job, didn't he?
She just so happened to see me back, she's like,
That's right.
Okay, what type of discussion do we need to have about these guidelines tonight then?
Well, I think what we wanted to do is kind of just comb through these to see before we, make a reference or codify that in the language, do we, kind of agree that everything that's in here is up to date at this point. I got my first opportunity to kind of be a part of, the last meeting, and, I was really impressed by the participation in that meeting. So I don't know how many bus drivers and, dispatchers and everybody who willingly give up their time to come and really work on this. I was really impressed with even the drivers' recommendations because you could tell that it means a lot to them to have a safe driver plan that is effective. And everybody that was on that committee really had the kids' best interest at heart. So just a shout out to that committee and what's been put in place to that. So all that being said, I don't know if we just want to kind of comb through this page by page and just make sure, and if there's any questions that come up or anything that needs clarification along the way, we can go ahead and do that.
I
just have one question for clarification. Are we looking at codifying these just for transportation or applying them to all SPALC members?
That's a really good question. So definitely need to have that conversation. We do have some operations representatives here too, and then, so I think the managerial guidelines were established primarily for our bus operators. But the safe driver plan, we may want to have some conversations about who that applies to in relation to anybody that has is responsible for a district vehicle. Go ahead, Arlise.
So where the safe driving reward come in, we did have conversation about it, Ron, just before you became chief negotiator. And, we just had, conversation in our meeting. So, Chris brought, something back to me that I had actually forgot about when we were talking earlier. It depends on how many hours somebody actually worked and is, you know what I'm saying, driving up under the wheel. Because it came up, that everybody pretty much that drive, any kind of fleet vehicle should get that reward. But the reason why the safe driving reward was, put in place, it was for specifically bus drivers, because they are the ones that is transporting the students, and they drive for it. That's all they do. So when you look at how many hours or how much time bus drivers spend up under the wheel versus other departments, that's why it was put in place, basically for the bus drivers. So Ron, I think you said something at the last or the first part of the session that we were, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we were, the managerial guidelines and the safe driving plan was going to be for all fleets.
I think that was the conversation that we needed to have here too. And those are the kinds of things I'm not sure that we all understand, if there were some provisions within there as we go through this, what actually does apply to all fleet and what applies really to just bus drivers. And then, do we need to maybe formulate a separate committee once let's say, for example, we all agree these need to be codified in the language. There has to be some reference in our collective bargaining agreements that goes to this. I mean, there's no reason why we can't kind of reconvene, a similar committee that we had that includes some operations folks and some, kind of the other fleet, the rest of the fleet, to really go through these again and then makes, we can always do that like we do through labor management, if that sounds like a good plan to you. But, because I've never really looked at this through the lens of all fleet, although there is reference in here to anybody who operates a district vehicle here, and those things would obviously apply here, but I don't know that they've ever been fully implemented on the operations side or any other piece where somebody's actually driving a vehicle.
Okay, so I noticed it was interest when we were, when this came up in bargaining, before, that other departments would like to, get the safe driving reward. But I just want everybody to understand, you can't get the money without getting everything that comes with the money.
Gotcha.
That means random drug testing. That means you will be subject to points. So basically, if you're driving and we put this point system in place, we adopt it for everyone, it has to be all of it, not, proportion of it. Because like I said, the intent for the drive-in award was strictly for the bus drivers,
right?
Because they do the random drug test and they're on a point system, and what that means is our drivers that drive school buses can only get X amount of points, and those points necessarily, if you have an accident right? Police might come and say, oh, you're not at fault, nobody's at fault, nobody's getting ticketed. Well, we have a committee, and it's made up of supervisors, safety department. I sit in, I don't vote, I just sit in, with this committee. And if they say that that accident was preventable, right, because of law and whatever it is you did, if they say it's preventable, then you get assigned points. So we just want everybody to understand with that $300, right, that the drivers get, there's a lot comes with it. So I just want, everybody to understand that it's definitely a lot. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to piggyback off of that because like the random drug testing, I just want to make sure, just for clarification in the room, a lot of that is under DOT standards for the CDL holders, which I know right now maintenance does have people, but I mean, to just make it across the board for everyone, I think we have to, because we discussed a little bit earlier, but we would have to bring legal into that just to make sure that we're okay with doing that. But to operate a district vehicle, I mean, I don't see it being wrong with incorporating the safe driver plan, but when it comes to the randomization of it, like, because there's only 3 reasons why we would just do a drug test on somebody operating a vehicle, and that would be ticket and tow, ticket and transport, or a fatality. So those are grounds to do drug testing. But the randomizer falls under the DOT standards for CDL holders. So I just want to make sure we have the clarification and room for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's, that conversation right there probably needs to somewhere, if we need to add some of that language that says, for bus drivers, obviously, because that's a DOT regulation, they may be subject to random drug testing, and then the only reasons why you can be drug tested if you're just operating a district vehicle would be these kind of guidelines. So that makes sense to me.
We'll get those 3 things from you, added to our notes.
So do you want us to just go page by page up here and?
Yes, ma'am, because I know, the VP from transportation, she is absolutely new. And, so I wanna make sure, her and everybody else understand exactly what it is that we're doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so this is the title page. All right, so this tells us that these are the managerial guidelines. I'll let you guys take a look at that. Could you make the fonts any bigger? You need to make the font bigger, Kevin? Okay. So again, this
And so
one-
just for clarification, so these first couple paragraphs primarily relate to the managerial guidelines. So, right, okay. And these would only be in place for our bus drivers. And again, that's the first page where it makes a reference to the SPALC collective bargaining agreement, and that's one of the reasons I think we need to include some language in there. And I'm not sure, I think we talked about Article 9 because the managerial guidelines really relate to possible disciplinary issues, to probably codify that in Article 9, right? Yeah. So we will need to, next time around, maybe bring some language that we can add to Article 9. Okay.
Jared, I have a question. Jared, what is the, proper time to, complete like your accident, incident report? What is it, 48 hours? No, it's not there, but it's over.
No, we asked for a police report, so you just want the accident report, like if an incident happened on the road,
incident.
we need that within 24 hours, because we have to report to the state.
Gotcha.
So we have a timeline, yes, within 24 hours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh,
You see how easy Ron gave that mic up?
yeah, it's like you keep it. Meaning that you're dropping off the student to it or by a stop at and it's not authorized. So let's say, for instance, your stop is 6th and Williams, and you're doing a parent a favor, dropping them off 4th because it's closer to home. That's an unauthorized bus stop. Our famous saying, favors get you fired.
I have a question, Ron. Can we go back to, I'm sorry, guys, 19, I was kind of stuck on something. So, Ron, my question is, do we need to make that clear by saying operator and attendant? Or can we put it, well, that one particular thing, most of the items is, pertaining to the bus operator. So on this one particular thing, do we need to make it clear? Because it should be both, driver and attendant.
Is that the only place that we need to reference any of the attendance that we know of, or do we want to?
Not sure, I guess we can just go through it, but I just wanted to bring that back to y'all's attention, because I'm worried about 19.
Yeah, we got you. But, this applies to both, so because the safe driver plan is the only thing that's specific to drivers. Managerial guideline applies to both operator and assistant.
Okay, so, so for example, unauthorized stop, that's just specific to the driver, right? Because
Yes.
the driver is the only one driving the bus. I just wanted to be clear, so when people pick this up, and to let everybody else in the room know, this is not a new document, this is our lives in transportation. But I just wanted to be clear that it is the operator and the attendant's responsibility.
Yeah. So Kevin is asking for clarification on unsupervised and unattended, meaning that a student was left on the bus alone, driver and assistant both got off the bus, left the student by themselves, whether it was for a minute or an hour or however long, they were left unattended and unsupervised.
So what was the question Kevin asked something?
No, he just wanted some clarification on what unsupervised and unattended meant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just want to bring the clarification to that.
Okay.
I'm wondering if we're bouncing around a little bit, but if we go back to page 1, the following are managerial guidelines for discipline of transportation employees. I'm wondering if we maybe, right before the last one, if we make, 6, say that these managerial guidelines pertain to all bus employees where applicable. I mean, obviously, the attendant can't, slam on the brakes, but they can, violate the dress code and they can violate the attended student policy. So I'm wondering if we add in 6 and then make number 6, 7, if we add number 6 to say the managerial guidelines the managerial guidelines.
All transportation employees.
Right.
That's true, that's true.
The managerial guidelines pertain to all transportation employees where applicable. Yes, thanks. Yes, that's just something, we can kind of take a vote on this in its entirety, but that sound okay to you?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
I think at the end.
If we're talking about possibly making this apply to all fleet drivers,
This is the managerial.
Oh. okay,
Yeah, the state driver plan was the one we talked about.
okay, so the points aren't part of the safe driver program? Okay.
That's part of that, yeah. They're on the same bit one, but.
Stand separate. Although we should have the state of Florida pass this in its entirety for anybody who's on the roads.
Around 30 to 1.
30? Okay.
So you can go okay with 19.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, 31 came up in labor management, right? So the way that it is being seen by some, some people is they took that as if a driver get a DUI, we automatically fire them instead of, and I explained it, Jared, we never, well, transportation really don't fire people anyway, just like any other department, but I just said the reason why that was there is because by law, if you get a DUI and you go to court and they prove you was wrong, your license is gonna be suspended for 75 years, right? So we basically know if you got a DUI, you go to court, you gonna lose your CDL anyway. I said, so if you lose your CDL, then you ain't gonna be a driver. But they don't like that. So I think we need to come up with something, to put in 31 instead of termination, because they are feeling like this document is saying that you're automatically fired without the people getting due process.
What I hear you say is that if you are convicted of a DUI, is when that takes place.
Right. But a lot of people is not
Yeah.
seeing it that way. They're saying this document is saying before these people even have due process, which we know they have due process, but they're saying the way, if you just pick this up and you read it, you'd be like, oh, they're gonna fire that driver because they got a DUI without their due process. That came up in one of our management meetings.
I think there was a due process in the very beginning, like.
Yeah, no, got Chris to work.
Yeah, we know it's there, but they was like,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too, because what it is a recommendation. So, I mean, because again, like, all of this can be, ORT, OTR, they can overturn all of this anyways, so these are what the recommendation is gonna be, and I understand what you're saying, because everybody's gonna get a due process, but the recommendation for having a DUI, driving under the influence with students aboard the bus, the recommendation is termination. So I mean, I don't mind, us taking it to vote and, and changing around, but we just want to make sure we're clear too that these are what our recommendation would be.
I said all that in management, and I'm telling you that 31 termination is not like that at all.
Okay.
Does it bother them, did they come up during labor that some of these, let's say, first offense, second or third offense is termination, did it bother them there? Is it anywhere it says termination?
Actually, no, what was pointed out to me was 31.
So I think there's a couple things, and when you first take a look at this, and I don't know if anybody else in the room interprets it this way. So, when you see a DUI, whatever, whether it's a conviction or an accusation or you've been charged with DUI, these managerial guidelines only apply right now to when a person is actually driving the bus. And wasn't that the conversation too, that somebody said, well, what if if I have a CDL and I drive a bus, what if I get a DUI on Saturday night, while I'm driving my personal car?
Yeah, that didn't come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought that was part of the conversation too, but we're not talking about that at all here.
Well, maybe, let me reverse that. Maybe it was wrong, but
Yeah.
they definitely said they did not like 31 because it was basically, transportation was punishing the drivers before
Yeah.
they even had their due process. And I did say that they do get their due process because, we make sure of it because nobody really can say, oh, you got a DUI, you fired. Nobody is gonna say that, but I just want to bring it to y'all's attention. Whatever the group decides, I'm fine with it, but I do know that 31 was not like that at all.
Can you change the wording to conviction of driving under the influence?
It's kind of what I was thinking, but we have a lot of those situations, right? Like, I mean, if you get a reckless op, for example, on 36, you could be pulled over and accused of reckless operation, you go through, you can challenge it in court, all of these things, I think, and maybe again, we need to go back up in the original language and talk about when there is a criminal violation or, that due process will come into play. So, you get pulled over and there's a suspicion of DUI. If we have that, again, maybe we need to add another little snippet, we'll make that 6 again, and then move the other ones down to 6, 7, that, anytime there's, I did say 6, 7, didn't I? Oh my, there you go, I'll be on a meme somewhere, I'm sure, so. So the language would say, anytime there is a criminal charge against the driver, that due process has to take place before.
Or you could,
Fernando, yeah.
you could say in number 6 that, the recommended penalties or guidelines, all these, employees will be afforded due process for any and all numbers below.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, right.
Hold on, Fernando, I'm gonna get the microphone, just say it one more time.
Now, Sheriff's trying to get rid of that.
What I stated was we could, in number 6, put, the recommended penalties or guidelines, all employees will be afforded due process for all numbered items below.
It's okay.
Where it says the recommended penalties are guidelines, all employees will be offered due process for all items numbered below, or something to that effect.
So you think, I don't know, but I think, this may be redundant, but if you go back up to number 1, okay, you scroll back up to number 1. And actually just the top of the page, really. So alleged conduct with proper documentation subject to due process. Does that cover us there?
Yeah, it does.
I don't want to open Pandora's box, but then we go back to and I agree with Ron, it literally says above, alleged conduct with proper documentation is subject to due process. And then it says above every one of them, recommended discipline, these offenses remain on file. But even going to number 35, this is an issue that our safety department brings up, and it is something that we may need to bring up in labor management and discuss, because we do have issues where sometimes our drivers forget to, when they go get their physicals done, they forget to go get the medical card put on file, and that will cause your license to suspend. So then do we go to a severity of, it's just straight up neglect, or it's something I really forgot because I got busy in life? That's a 5-day suspension, and this is something that's happening. So they are recommendations again, but they don't necessarily mean that we have to do it per se. But so, just to bring that to the light as well.
Well, thank you, Sheriff. So this is my life, and I know the intent, right? But it just came up, so I just wanted to bring it to the team so we can have discussion. So if it come up again, we know exactly what to do and what to say, to whoever might bring it up again, that we're finding people for DUIs without due process. Thank you.
Okay, well, you go, I think 40 was the last one?
Yep.
And then I think we're getting into the safe driver plan.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and are we good with adding that one sentence at the beginning, and then really we didn't make any other changes, but just clarified?
Yeah, and where are we gonna edit that again, Ron?
That would be on the first, we're gonna add a new number 6 and then make number 6 number 7.
Okay, so what the new number 6 is gonna say?
It's what Fernando said about having, applies to everybody, we're applicable.
Did you,
Process.
is that in the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, you want to just read that, can we just go through that again, just to make sure everybody's good?
I have a question now. So Jared pointed out that that's already at the top of the page.
Yes.
So do we need to put that in there?
Well, no, this was the other piece that, what did we say here?
Oh, okay, it was pertaining.
Yeah, that's just making sure that we understand that that's both the bus attendant,
Gotcha.
dispatchers, everybody involved in transportation. So that's what we're gonna make number 6, and then move number 6 to number 7.
Okay, thank you.
Can we put that to test? Oh,
This was more of a question just on time frame of the offenses. How long, or is it always on file?
I'm confused, Kevin, how long was it?
So it says first offense, second offense, third offense.
Oh, yeah, it's on file.
So could be 20 years in between.
Depending on, I mean,
I'm-
yeah, I mean.
It doesn't mention any?
It's a part of the personnel file, so so are you referring to both documents or just either or just in general? Okay, so that's what, we keep those within a school year, depending on the offense. Now, if it's something that got you terminated, it's gonna go through professional standards, more likely, because again, we just can't fire people. So more than likely, it's in your personnel file, then there's been a case and it's there. So, but like if it's something like you do something minor, like you did an improper turn, then that'll go at the end of the school year, because that just stays there at the office. That's not something that's in professional standards per se. That's a good question.
And I believe that timeline is captured in the safe driver plan.
Yes.
That managerial guidelines, so.
Yeah.
right. So I would also respond to that to say that when we're talking about the file, so if you get a warning, obviously that's nothing that would go in the file. But if you get a written reprimand, that's gonna be codified for forever in the personnel file.
Okay, are we good to test
Managerial guidelines was the one sentence that we changed from 6 to be 7. Thumbs up if you agree, please.
little people in this room?
All right, so managerial guidelines are good.
And we'll go on to, we'll go on
Just trying to go with
the safe driver plan now.
My question again, if we can go back and maybe somebody can explain, were these points that are assigned, can somebody kind of give me maybe what some of the rationale behind the points?
Just for clarification.
The rationale behind the points, again, this precedes me, but the rationale behind the points is the severity of the violation while operating the district vehicle. And these points that are assessed are district points. We want to make sure you understand, like, this has nothing to do with law enforcement. So when you get a ticket to your own personal vehicle and things, or if you get the ticket in the bus, those points that go on your license, that's nothing to do with our district point system that we maintain. So these are the points that are assessed to the district right now. And when you get so many points, I believe it's 12 or 14, I gotta get a little clarification, but you fall outside of our safe driver plan. And at that point, you no longer qualified to operate a school bus because you're considered a hazard because of your actions. And I wanna make sure you understand, like, you literally can have one accident that can cause you to have more than 14 points, which would put you out of our safe driver plan, which would then put you up for termination because you're no longer qualified to operate a school bus. So did that answer the question? You need a little bit more clarity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It says the above list is not all inclusive.
So it looks like here, this would, hold on before we scroll down here just a minute. So if we were to apply this to all of then we would just want to make sure that anytime we're referencing the managerial guidelines, those are for bus drivers.
You might wanna change 5.29. That's a little policy.
Oh, yeah.
Good thinking.
Huh. So yeah, we just need to remove that. Cheryl has it. Arlise, can you pass the mic down to Cheryl, please?
So my question is, have we verified that the point system here is gonna equate to the same consequence we see on the other side, on the disciplinary side? Like, is there any place where we're saying probation, but yet the points don't match to that? Or we're saying it's gonna be a reprimand, but the point, like, it doesn't it matches to some other consequence? Does that make sense? I think that's kind of my question, clarification.
So Jared and Ron know that, so Rob actually was the attorney, correct? That sat in, so what we did in labor management, we went through, the managerial guidelines and the safe driving plan. Fernando was also a part, and we looked at law, and everybody guaranteed, right? And we agreed on it, that all of this was within the law. Yeah, everything, yeah. Mhm.
And just for clarification, I don't know if everybody can see, I know you see that BDI, just to let you guys know, that is basic driver improvement that's offered, because just to make sure we get some clarification for everybody.
So here's the introduction to the driver plan.
Can we hold on just a second? Kevin did ask a question, and I don't see it spelled out, but do we need to add what BDI means up there just for clarification, everyone?
I remember asking all that at the meeting.
Yeah, so we might want to add that just for clarification, basic driver improvement. So
Yeah,
that-
my side is saying yes, we need that.
Yeah, 'cause I was looking like, I don't know right what that means.
Should we, is this on?
Should we add in there, getting one of the new school bus, not stopping violations, bus patrol violations?
We've taken that to labor management, because we got a lot of discussion that needs to happen. Where Ross
It's in there, but it doesn't specifically reference the whole camera thing,
Right.
and how that works.
Yeah, and that's the part real quick.
Right. And that's, yeah. I agree.
Just so y'all won't think me and Laura are having all these sidebars. Laura, a question was if a bus driver goes through a school zone that has a camera, I just told her that driver will get that ticket, because the
Correct.
district will not pay any of us.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Not the school bus, everything.
Yeah.
Staring at it, BDI.
Did that say post-accident 48 hours?
Yeah,
Jared?
Jared said 24. They're having an issue with, we'll make notes on the other sheet and then I'll make the notes on that.
Okay. Did you guys catch that? 48 needs to be 24?
Yes. And can I ask why? Because I thought it was 48, and if it's up there 48, why are we changing it to 24?
Well, we can leave it 48, but however, a lot of times they gotta report things to the state immediately. And the reason we left it 48 is because sometimes they're transported to the hospital, they can't get back immediately. So we are sending safety department to the hospitals now and things of that nature, and if they're coherent enough, or if we can get to them, if they're not too shaken up to get it, but we would really need it, because I have to get reports to the state immediately, because they start calling, like I have all the answers like right now, and I really don't. It just depends on the severity. So we really would like to have it within 24, but 48 is okay, but 24 would be lovely. You know, I can live with 48, but.
I know, but we're used to 48. I knew it was 48.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say, and I get what you're saying, Jared, is very important, right? Because you got to answer to everybody that's involved, and especially if it's some student that is harmed or whatever. So I get that, but what if it's an accident, right?
Mhm.
Nobody is hurt, or it's only the driver on the bus. And basically, as a fender bender, the driver can leave, the bus is drivable, they go on to their next assignment or whatever. And then that driver, I don't know, have a midnight trip, don't come to work next day. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be changed and then the drivers get in trouble because, right, this language is our lives, and I know that 48 hours is Brandon and somebody else's brain also.
Okay, 48.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I have a question.
Is it on or my mom is saying? Oh, no.
You're on.
Good.
Okay, so looking at the 48 hours, so what if it's a Friday afternoon? So you probably do want to leave that because by the time you can report, you know, they can get to you. I mean, how do you handle a Friday afternoon?
I'm okay with 48.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Duty to self-report. Yep. We have a transportation and safety department. Is that different than safety?
Okay, so that's an actual thing? Okay.
Jared, I don't know if you paid that any attention, so look at safe driving reward program and go all the way down, you see that, one half.
Go back up. Yep, right there.
Gotcha.
It would bring some context to that one. Okay.
We can talk about it later.
Okay. Yes, I was looking at that too, yeah.
I ain't gonna leave the room dark. So guys, what we was talking about is, what I said earlier, because we was like trying to determine, right, because just to be fair to like everybody, because we, bargained for everybody, it was certain things put in place for bus operators, and they put language in place to, basically cater to them, because in the state driving award was put in the contract for bus drivers only, because basically they are the ones that is delivering or driving all over the city our precious cargo. So when they created the language, they made sure they put in place that you had to drive at least half a day. And nobody does that but bus drivers. So that's why that language was put in place. That's why that wordage was there, just so it couldn't pertain to the bus drivers and them getting that safe driving award. So I didn't want to leave you guys in the dark.
Thank you for that clarity.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, on page 15, the second to last bullet point, it says if ARC determines that a case is more than disparate action. The last sentence, we might just say just the director, because we don't have a director of safety and security. So that position doesn't exist. So just put over to the director.
I'll make that note when I do that.
So the accident review committee, and there's a reference earlier on to section 4.02 in the SPALC contract. And I don't see any reference in 4.02 to an ARC. So I'm wondering if somewhere along the lines that got eliminated. Yeah.
And I do remember Kathy Richards saying, somebody in the meeting with you all said, we have to get risk management involved, it's too, they're the ones that tell us.
Yeah, Ron, because we actually have one. There's a committee. So, Jerry, can we go back to, where did you want to make the change at to say director?
Bottom of page 15.
Bottom of page 15?
Second to last bullet on page 15. And then the last sentence, it was saying the case will be turned over to the Director of Safety and Security for consideration.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't have a director, it'll just be director.
Gotcha. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Is that everything?
I had to give Jay permission to make changes,
Oh,
so just give them a second to move on.
so that's it though. I mean, we went through the whole.
In this page,
After the review. It's about the exit review.
Okay, so this page 16, and the Accident Review Committee says by, Director of Transportation, should that be Executive Director of Transportation? Yeah, there's, in the Accident Review Committee, so it should be bullet 3 and bullet 4.
We could. I mean, that'll be a determination for us in this room, because it could be me, or it could be the directors of the sites, but if you just want it to just be me, I'm fine with that either way. As I believe at the time, a lot of the wording here was before the executive director position came back to transportation, because it was director for a while. So that would be up to the room's decision.
Who is the Transportation Safety and Training Department Supervisor? So we have that person.
Yes. But no, it's actually the coordinator.
Okay.
So we need to change that because Welina Glosser is the coordinator of safety and training. Yes. Because the safety supervisors are all in compounds, so they have 4 of those, and they report to the coordinator. So it should be coordinator of transportation.
Okay, Jared, so what are we changing with accident review committee?
No, I think we're just changing the titles. And we didn't change any of the processes, just like, so it was up to the room, because we were talking about appointed by the director. So Amy was asking, should it say executive? Because a lot of it was by site. So if we wanted to just be executive, that's fine with me, or we want to keep it director at the sites.
Okay, wait. Okay. So instead of director, the executive would be Jared. Okay. I'm trying to process. Sure. Oh yeah, this one is real old. This was literally when we only had one director in transportation. Real old.
I think, I don't know if it goes way back that far, but I think it goes back because for a long time, there were just directors. And then I think it almost goes back, I'm not gonna go there, but it goes back to when you had the senior administrators, then a director, and then things changed. So I don't know, let's go back several years.
Okay, so Jared, what are we changing the language to? Executive director, meaning you?
Yes,
Okay, that's fine. I can deal with it.
you deal with that? I thought you would love that.
Okay, we need clarification on bullet 4. Where do a coordinator come in at? Or are you talking about Willina, because she's actually?
Yes, because we changed the structure of the safety department. So it used to just be the safety supervisor, and then you had road safety supervisors. Now the road safety supervisors are safety supervisors. They report to the coordinator, so now it'll be the coordinator that will be making the suggestion.
Okay, so meaning Willina will be one member, correct?
Yes.
On the board. You will be actually the one appointing them, right?
Yes.
And then we still will have someone, which will be Lewis, I understand, but then we will have somebody else from safety department. And then we will have the garage.
Yeah, the supervisor of garage operations.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask you about that position, Jared, because is that just one person for all the garages in, for all 4 compounds? Or is that we have a supervisor of garage operations at every location?
No, that's one position. That's True Jones. He's our supervisor of garage operations. He oversees all the shop supervisors.
Okay. So we'll have True, we'll have Willina, we'll have Lewis. Okay, and then we'll still have somebody from, we'll still have a driver trainer,
Yes.
so we just need one more besides Lewis, correct?
No, I think that's all, because you have your training safety, so you have a coordinator, which is Willina, you have True, which is your garage operations. Then we gotta appoint one more additional management representative, which is Lewis. And then your driver trainer, which we rotate them, we'll change those out. And then we have the SPALC observer, which you appoint.
Alright. Thank you.
So the only one that'll change on the regular will be the driver trainer, because we try to give them all the experience in this.
Thank you.
Is there an assistant director of transportation in 10? No? So it's just the executive director?
Yeah.
You get that responsibility too?
Yeah. Thank you.
A busy man.
So we make the decision? Or I get the final outcome and then we'll go there.
Yeah, it feels nice to me.
So Jared, I have a question about the appeal. So I understand the time limit and all of that. So actually, I just had one of these come up last week. So the driver, right, whether it's one accident, the number, or multiple, and then they take it into their director, right? This is the process last week. And then the director, so my question is, do the director have the authority to deny appeal? That is not a trick question.
It's
We can
not.
talk, we
But,
can talk later, I just need to get some.
No, I mean, the correct answer would be it should come.
Okay, next page.
I do have some concerns for that eligible for rehire after 5 years. I don't, does that have to be there? Because the reason being, we have had employees that have been termed and, you know, they've contacted us, oh, it's been 5 years, we're ready to come back. Well, I mean, depending on the severity of the reason we got rid of them, I think that's kind of a little, that's left for some interpretation there, and me personally, I would like to get rid of that, because I just don't, it just causes some confusion.
Let me get you the microphone, Cheryl's got a question.
Oh, we can pass.
No, I was just gonna make the statement that just because they're eligible for rehire does not mean that as an employer, you have to hire the person. So, I don't know if that needs to be there or not needs to be there, but I think that clarification is important.
Arlise?
So, and Jared might be thinking about the same, incident, maybe. But yeah, so I kind of agree with Jared, because this is another thing that, people are looking at it and they are, you know, they're reading it and not knowing, the intent of the language. And, if I was fired off of a job and you had in your documents that I was eligible to get rehired, I come back 5 years too. So people are very, very confused about that, to the point that, I heard a story that some employees basically got threatened because of this language. Yeah, oh, it says I can come back, and if you don't hire me, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't know if Jared is, are we talking about maybe the same incident? So, and you're right, it's up to the district. So if it's up to the district or whatever, why do we even need that in there? Because I think it'll save some of people from, being, in a situation.
No, so what I heard was we should remove the,
Yeah,
Yep.
you're eligible if the district says you're eligible. You apply, you get the job.
Maybe eligible for rehire in a non-driving position.
No, we don't need to put it in there at all. It just needs to go away.
We'll just write through eligible for rehire.
Yeah, because it depends on what it is. So if you put that in there, right, they might not be eligible to be hired anywhere in the district. So I just think it needs to be taken out.
So is that open to rehire then too? They're just not eligible for rehire?
One can make the argument be terminated by the on that. Yeah, we got the low area terminated.
Typically, when someone's terminated because they're not eligible.
Absolutely, yeah.
We don't want to confuse them.
Right.
So we want to remove those bullet points. Okay.
And the last bullet, maybe.
Mark off the last one?
what,
I would say last bullet too.
end of employment, non-compliance terminations.
The last one.
I guess I don't get the whole thing here, what's the purpose of that, right? I'm not sure I get the whole thing here, other than final step, at the end of employment letter will be sent via certified and regular mail, period, and then I don't see a need for the rest of that at all.
Yeah, cause my side is saying get rid of all of them.
I agree with your side. Right. So let's strike the whole thing, good.
Okay. All right, we want to test this now.
Fernando has a question.
If I remember correctly, when we discussed this last year, was there a conversation that if points were deducted, there was a way to earn points back, or was that something that we're not doing?
So, no, it's not that they earn points back, I don't know if y'all can hear me, but what it is. So with our point system, like every year of safe driving, a point falls off. And then after 3 years, all the points come off. So once you have 3 years of safe driving, your record gets clear and you're back to zero. It is. It's in there. Yeah, it's toward the top. It is. Yeah.
Ready for that?
Yeah, I think so.
That's it. So we already approved the managerial guidelines, and this is for the safe driver plan for transportation employees. Yes? Agree with that?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
I have, so I think there's, in relation to this, so again, 4.02, there's a reference to that, and there's nothing in 4.02 that talks about the ARC.
So that'll be a housekeeping item, or?
Yeah, I guess.
I think we probably should work for next time to come back with, so these are the articles I think we need to address in relation to the managerial guidelines and the safe driver plan. So it looks like Article 4, which really is the grievance procedure. And if you look at it, it talks about jurisdiction. So if we added like 4.026, because I think 4.02 goes to 5, if we said that, the ARC basically has jurisdiction over any citation issued to a transportation employee. Which we can kind of work on it, but we can bring that back next time, if you're okay with that. And then Article 9, discipline, would be the other place where we need to add something that references the outcomes that are recommended in the managerial guidelines. And then the other place is Article 10. There's nowhere in Article 10 compensation where it talks about the $300. I think that's just been kind of there was some old policy, but we probably need to add that in Article 10. In Article 10?
It should be a table there.
Yeah, it's a little.
Oh. I may not have had my glasses on, so.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Oh, okay, no, I'm sorry, here it is. So the first year is 100, second year, that's okay, so that's good. So we don't need anything in Article 10. So just 4 and 9, we can come back with some.
What else do we have for tonight's agenda, or is that going to be the night? We are missing Lois and are there anything else we wanted to discuss tonight, or do you want to do this part, which you're missing? Your vice president and Lois.
Yeah, I think we kind of said that we would just do,
Managerial guidelines.
yes, and then, stuff that, get that off the plate to do. So I'm fine with ending.
Okay, we meet again in 2 weeks, I believe that's. March 9th, yeah, March 9th, at 4:30 in this room. All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yay.